Welcome to Self Enquiry. This is only a brief structural overview over what to expect, as well as an overview on the various componentry of the Self Enquiry Journaling Tool. It is by no means an exhaustive guide over what to write, but it is only meant to be taken as a structural overview of what to expect. This entire presentation is going to be split into 6 main sections. The first of which is the brief introduction, as well as its humble limitations and as well as technical limitations. Before then, we are proceeding to the 5 main worksheets that we are all going to cover in a walkthrough fashion, page by page, sheet by sheet. So the entire self-journaling tool is actually composed of the welcome sheet, abbreviations, summary, and lastly the weekly individual Google sheet, in which that is accounted for up to 4 or 5 separate sheets, counting for towards 1 monthly accounting period before that proceeds to the next month. So for example, we start with January 1, January 2, January 3, January 4, and January 5. Before then, we proceed to the next one: February 1, February 2, February 3, and February 4. And that concludes the second inquiry period before we proceed to the next month: March 1, March 2, March 3, and so on and so forth. First of all, we are going to visit the proprietary blog article that this author have preparedly written up, very summary, as well as a series of expectations and guidelines over what to expect. Alongside that, also with a brief series of steps and methodologies to get around this entire self-inquiry journaling process. So, having read through the blog article, we may proceed ourselves into, first of all, and obviously, create ourselves a Google account. Once we have successfully created a Google account, we may proceed to actually clicking the download Google Sheets button and or URL as provided within the blog article release of the entire self-inquiry journaling. Once we have clicked on the download here via Google Sheets, that link will take us straight to the actual working file of the actual final public working file. So hence, it is imperative that once we have opened this document, we are going to make a copy to our separate Google account. The welcome sheet. Please read through this section because it provides an overview on what self-inquiry is, the goals behind self-inquiry, what to expect, as well as the basic methodologies on how to navigate and edit the entire document. The very first section here pretty much describes what self-inquiry is, what to expect, and the general limitations of this entire journaling tool altogether. It also describes the goals as well as the brief reminder over what this concept initiative and its parent manuscript is all about. To quickly summarize when it comes to the terms of use and conditions, this concept self-journaling tool remains entirely as that, a personal, individualized tool and means of scientific journaling, nothing more, nothing less. You are free to be as however detailed you wish, or however brief detail and or amounts of information that you wish to account for. The more effort you put in, the more likely meaningful thus that it will set you up in the near future. What that means is the less information you give at any stage toward your self-inquiring, the more likely chances, the more likelihood, therefore, that you are going to be forgetful of many other nuanced details that you wish that you actually have done so earlier. So hence, every repercussions and or every consequences is unfortunately not up to this author's responsibility to shoulder. Every circumstances, every experiences remains an individual self-inquiry. Every experiences remains therefore an individual capacitive overall willingness to therefore self-inquire first and foremost. Going to the abbreviations tab where we can actually input in various abbreviations of all supplementations and or micronutrients contingencies that we are taking, just so that for us to make sure that in the long run it is easier for us to refer to. However, keeping in mind that all these abbreviations are not automated or inputted with any functions at this stage strictly. Hence, in other words, that abbreviation sheet is only there to keep a manual tracking over what supplements and or what contingencies have the reader actually been using all thus far. And should they wish to make changes and to make updates, they may freely do so by resorting to use the Google Sheets built-in find replace utility function. The summary sheet, as one may expect, allows us a bird's eye view or the overall snapshot over what we have journaled and or inputted thus far. Reporting and or self-inquiring period for month and or period number 1, in which in this case here, it is running from Monday, January the 4th, 2021, and all the way to Sunday, January the 24th, 2021. For each and every end of weekly sheets, summary of thoughts and or notes will automatically be collated and automatically be duplicated here in each of these entries here. Average pre-training weight reading, average fasting glucose readings, average fasted ketone readings, if applicable. So that pretty much concludes the summary sheet, its descriptions, and its functionality. So this is where the entire journaling process begins. So we shall proceed by inputting our entries under the categories of mornings, afternoons, evenings, pre-exercise weight reading, fasting glucose test, fasting ketones, if within affordability reach, our custom dynamic heading in which we can actually tailor and alter to our liking, and or any other notes for the day. So that encompasses our daily journaling. We shall repeat this daily journaling until we have reached to the end of the week, in which that is, according to this sheet, as an example, is January the 10th, 2021. So, moving downwards, we have the end of week notes. All this is pretty much a summary of inputs that collates and altogether summarizes our thoughts of our journaling, of our nutritional journaling for the given week. We may also provide our summary of thoughts under specific headings and or topics, such as specific thoughts on glucose levels. We write them down here. And or specific thoughts on supplementation, we may write them down here. Specific thoughts on training exercise, write them down here. And likewise for sleep quality and the duration, as specified and written down here. Just beneath our end of week notes, we have a presentation of our graph, in which, in this case here, we can see a progression of our fasting blood glucose levels that we have inputted from our daily inputs. Keeping in mind that at this stage, we are only using placeholder values just to show progression. One thing to keep in mind is that for any days and for whatever reason, if we are not tracking any numerical quantified inputs, irrespective whether that is weight reading, glucose test, or ketones test, is that simply leave them blank by backspacing the cell. Do not use 0. Otherwise, Google will interpret that as an additional entry for it to calculate its averages, in which that is simply what we do not want. Should readers and or viewers would like to custom track parameters and or criteria of their choice, they may do so by opening the very first weekly sheet of the entire document, in which in this case here is January number 1. And then within that January number 1 sheet, if we can actually navigate down specifically to Monday, cell B22, and as soon as we change that heading, the entire custom track heading will be reflected throughout all the document. Another special feature worth mentioning is the ability for us to upload custom images to replace the placeholder images as seen under the category heading here, which says optional image uploads within cells. All images are automatically shrink to fit within cells. So hence, that wraps up and concludes the entire mini overview and tutorial on the navigation and the various functionality descriptions throughout this self-enquiry journaling tool, at least in its current manifestation and iteration for its public beta release versioning thus far. Please ensure that you, as prospective readers and viewers who are keenly interested in this decentralized view and receptions of nutritional science, to at least please read the fine details amidst the privacy disclosures, terms of use, as well as the limitations, the various limitations that this author humbly and transparently have set out within the very first shape, that is the welcome shape of this entire self-journaling tool. This author would like to appreciate any or all feedbacks down in the comment section below, or by simply reaching out to its proprietary blog article at nutritional-humility.me. Once again, thank you for watching, and never forget, keep living it forward. Thank you for watching.